What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Kamen Riders. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast, and today on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 38. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
When will we be doing our musical episode?
Probably never, ever, because those are the worst episodes of Riverdale.
Does it have to be Riverdale? Whoa! It doesn't even have to be Riverdale. But if I really wanted to do a musical episode with the understanding that I can't sing, I don't have enough skills to do all the musical accompaniments. Like, how do you think we would go about? Who do I have to call? Who do I have to hire to get this going? Do you think?
Well, someone who can write songs would be good to hire. Someone who sounds like our voices but can sing would be good to hire. Someone who can just stand in for you and I for the singing parts would be good.
How do you think we find that?
I don't know. I think you have to be more rich and more famous than we are to find. I don't know.
I need you to give me, like, you're vaguely giving me the answers I need, but you're not giving me like the steps that go with it.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Like, oh, we should find someone that can mimic us. Well, like, how do we do that?
I don't know. I would be down, honestly, for doing a musical episode if we if we did it like big production style. Like if we wrote it out, we scripted the whole thing, and we just did like an hour-long podcast musical. That'd be incredible.
Do you think we could go on Fiverr to hire voice actors and be like, we need musical voice actors, and drop what our voices sound like and try to have either them copy us or have them find people that sound like us? Or
I'm sure we could. Yeah, I'm sure we could hire someone on Fiverr. I don't know what the quality would be, but we could probably find singers on Fiverr that are at least close enough to us that would be able to do it.
This sounds like my new end game goal for like the first episode 2026. That's gonna be my goal. I don't know how far we're gonna get with this, but I'm gonna give myself 6 months as of today ish to find voice actors for us to make the most musical episode of a podcast ever that reviews Kamen Rider specifically, just in case there are other musical episodes of podcasts of people that can sing.
We should do some research and see if we would be the very first musical episode of a podcast that isn't normally just a musical. Because I've never heard of one. That'd be interesting. Now, are you gonna write the music? Are we gonna sing popular songs in different contexts like Riverdale does? What's the plan here?
I think I just want to we'll figure out something that is the intro banter, to have like the moody intro song and just try to figure out the right way to word the conversation where we can do that.
Okay.
The episode review itself will have to be very specifically written. So where, like, I don't know how to make words rhyme with like Laganine or Sachika, or I guess Shouma's probably the easiest, or Hanto. Like, those are probably pretty close.
Yeah.
But like,
so are you picturing me being like, Toby, I just wish our podcast was popular. We're gonna be popular. Like that, like launch into a song from a conversation.
I think I want the full thing to be musical. Like, I think
okay.
from just just like intro piano keys, like dun 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 dun. Hey everybody, it's our podcast. I'm your host, Josh. Toby's here too. Like that kind of shit.
See, one of my favorite, well, I guess the thing that annoys me about musicals, but is one of my favorite conceits about musicals, is when they stop with the music and then just resume their normal activities as if they weren't all just singing together. And I feel like we at least need to have a few sentences strung together that are like, air quotes, normal podcast between songs. I think that'd be especially funny.
Okay, so like more so like something happens, like Shouma gets dehensioned and he might die. So with the conversations like, and then that big fight happened where Shouma got his ass kicked. He dehensioned the monster, was threatening him, was like, I'm going to find where you are. And Shouma's hanging off the edge of the cliff, like towards the beginning. And then the song is like, from the point of view of Shouma, like, I'm hanging off the cliff. Yeah. Oh no, I might fall. Like
I'm picturing like as you're introducing it in like a podcast voice, you just hear the music come up slowly underneath you, like bump, 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 and then
exactly.
It cuts. Okay, no, you know what? I'm 100% on board. I thought I was out. I'm actually very in. This is good.
See, I think if we make it absurd enough, it'll actually lean into the part of it that's funny to me.
Yeah.
Of just how absurd that like the your pitch style of those things are.
I have such a complicated relationship with musicals because some of them I utterly hate. And like, I do struggle in musicals with the idea of like, I know it's a dumb thing to get over, but like I have a hard time getting over it. Of the like, did the singing happen in universe or did it not? Was it like a weird pause of space and time? Like, how does this work? That bothers me. But some of my hate, some of my love, and it doesn't make a lot of sense which ones I like and which ones I don't. And I don't know.
Name one that you like.
I really like crap. What's the one? It's about P.T. Barnum. What's that one called?
I don't know. The Greatest Showman?
The Greatest Showman. I like The Greatest
Showman. Is that
Showman
actually what it is?
Yeah.
I just guessed.
Yeah. That one's good.
So you're going to pull like a 2022 movie as your favorite?
Well, it's one that I've watched most recently, probably. That one's really good. Because the music's really good of it. I like the music a lot.
Yes.
We listened to that. We listened to that music a lot independently of the movie because my daughter was very into it for a while. Other musicals I like La La Land, which I know is kind of polarizing for people.
A 2022 movie?
No, it's a 20-something. It's not 2022. It's 2016, according to my Google.
All right, so that's a little bit older. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not naming any classics, man. That's disappointing.
I don't think I like most of the classics. What's a classic musical?
Like Rent.
I've never seen Rent.
Okay, you need to watch Rent. We might have to watch that together.
I don't think I like it. It's old.
It's not that old.
I'm just kidding. I would watch it.
That one, like West Side Story is a classic.
I've not seen that either.
But like, didn't you go to school? Like, didn't your school do musicals and make all the kids go during class?
No. My school did musicals occasionally, but they didn't make the kids go. I remember my school did a Beauty and the Beast musical. That was okay. I don't know.
That's all crazy to me because literally from elementary school until high school, no matter what grade or year, whatever I was in, we literally had one every year, and we definitely all had to watch it as a school, not counting when they sold tickets for the public to come watch it for whatever, like 2 days they did it, like the Friday, Saturday, whatever it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. We definitely had like plays. So like it would be a musical, I think one time, and then the next one would be like just a play, and then it'd go back and forth. Like we had those for that. Our high school put them on. I didn't go see every one of them, but I've been to see a few of them.
Maybe that's why I'm into it. Maybe I was like coded since childhood of like, I live in a crazy showy area, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that part of this is not true anymore of me whatsoever, but there's definitely like a bit of like built-in, like fragile masculinity sometimes with liking musicals, right? Like I definitely grew up in like rural Indiana, where if you were a young boy who liked musicals, like you were gonna get called gay, and that's just how it worked, and that's a bummer that's how it worked. So that's probably why I didn't like musicals then. Now none of that factors into my liking of things,
and I still hate them all.
Yeah. But I just haven't. I guess I haven't seen a ton of them, and like a lot of the ones I have seen, I don't like. Like I don't love. I don't love Chicago. I don't love The Wizard of Oz even. Like
I guess that's considered one.
Yeah. Phantom of the Opera is terrible. Hate it.
Do you think it's just like do you think it's the type of songs that are in them that throw you?
Yes, 100%. It is now. Yeah.
Okay, so then you should watch Repo. Not Repo Men. Repo.
Repo. Okay.
It's the same exact plot as Repo Men, where people steal organs, but this one was made by the Saw guy, and it's a musical.
Oh.
It's like Repo the Genetic Opera or something like that. It's super old at this point.
Yeah,
but that has like better punky rock songs in it.
Okay.
And that's why like a good chunk of the Rent ones are good too, because the one is like, I think it's called 3 Chord Wonder. something like that. And it's kind of like a dude just playing like his own little punk song to himself and
Nice.
singing about like 3 chords is all it takes to make a good song, blah, blah, blah. And that one's fun. So I think you see, well, like Green Day that has theirs. Like American Idiot is technically
Do
a
they?
musical.
Is there
and it is a
actually
musical
a
now.
is there actually a movie or a show associated with that,
Yeah.
or is it just the album? There is. Okay, I didn't realize that. I guess.
Yeah, like at some point it made it to a Broadway thing.
Okay. And
So
that's the other part of musicals is like when I would have been getting into them when I was, a teen, was also when I was the most snooty about the music that I listened to, right? Like I was like into punk music and only punk music. And yeah, I would have looked down on any of the musical music because it was very different than that.
that statement, like, this all sounds judgy. This is more conversational. That's all funny to me because I listen to crazy, screamy, hardcore metal, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I still think all the songs are fantastic. And then that'd be like the polar opposite of what my angsty mainstay of musical nonsense is.
Yeah, I guess I never like I didn't have that dichotomy in me then. I do now, but I didn't as much when I was younger.
And my final one of these stories, and then we can go into the real podcast. So I went to see Spamalot on Broadway.
Okay. Yeah.
That is the Monty Python, like, Holy Grail jokey one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to see it. This is going to be spoilers. I went to see it right after whatever Harry Potter book came out where Snape kills Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So basically, much like a Monty Python
Time
movie.
out. I love that you said this is going to be spoilers, and then you didn't spoil Spamalot. You spoiled Harry Potter instead. That was a masterstroke, by the way.
Oh,
Carry on.
so to that point, that's the same thing they did. It was literally like, I was super into the Harry Potter books, so I read the book almost immediately after it came out, like most people did.
Yep.
I think I saw Spamalot at best 2 weeks after the book came out. So I couldn't even tell you the plot of the play, whatever, anymore. They get to one point, one of the actors looks dead into the crowd. They're not really like talking about anything. And he's like, well, this is as bad as when Snape killed Dumbledore. And the whole crowd goes like, oh, like a collective gasp. And you see he just like smiled, and then they went back into the play. And I always wondered post that point if that was always like the marker in the show where they just ruined something or made it like some really super topical thing like that.
Yeah.
Or if they always just use when Snape kills Dumbledore, like all these years.
Nah, I bet they come up with something new each time. I bet, whenever it's relevant, I bet there's new stuff getting plugged into that spot.
That's fantastic.
That's really good. Yeah. Toby, speaking of musicals and media and stuff, do you ever like sit and think about how we live in this like inescapable attention economy, and everything that we watch and consume and interact with is like vying for a bigger and bigger chunk of that engagement for us, and all media can be viewed then because of that as an act of aggression taking up our time, and art is then a weapon, and artists are the actual killers who are taking aim and firing bullets at our splintered attention spans, and the inevitable end result is everyone's just shouting into the void and no one actually listens.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, me neither. And that's why I need you to sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/thecommentwriters. For just $3 a month, we too can shout into the void directly at you. And we'd love for you to join us over there. Toby, we can get all kinds of cool stuff over on the Patreon. Why don't you tell the people about what they can get?
So first off, you get to hang out with us in our fantastic Discord. There's a lot of crazy folks like us in there. Everyone's chatting along all day, sharing their favorite horrible toku shows, along with horrible tastes in music like mine, and all sorts of other fun Discordy things you would expect. We have decades worth of watch and reacts at this point, where Josh and I talk over the shows on the Patreon itself, even if you're just a free member, instead of paying for it like some sort of crazy, wacky person. Free members get a free taste of all the shows we've watched so far. So like Go Zayuger, all the Japanese words are hard now. Dawn Brothers, that's an easy one. The World's Worst Show O's. You get to watch the first couple episodes for free, and at that point, you can decide to pay $3 a month, and you can watch all the unlocked access, hours upon days upon weeks of Josh and I talking over all your favorite Kamen Rider and Sentai shows.
I would go so far as to say it's a good Patreon. You should be a part of it.
If it was like a school graded Patreon, it's a solid like B+ to A-.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Yeah, and it only goes up from here, as more content gets added to it. Because we're not over there taking content away. You know what I'm saying? We're throwing content onto the content pile, and yeah, you get to sign up and you get it all, baby. You get it all.
It's one of those things where like it's kind of like investing in Kamen Rider coin, where you have to have diamond hands, and if you buy in now, it can only go up. We're gonna shoot rockets to the moon.
Hodl.
Yeah, hodl. Hold your damn line. All the meme things that I don't understand all the jokes of necessarily, as you can possibly see here.
Yeah. And we certainly didn't understand the cryptocurrency because we're also not rich. So that's why we're doing this. And you too can be not rich by $3 a month if you would like to give that to us. So check out the Patreon, patreon.com/thecommentriders.
That's actually a weird business proposition now that I really think about it and you worded it that way. Because people are going to get not rich supporting us. But in theory, that could make us rich.
But we are enriching their lives via our content.
I feel like you're devaluing mine, but let's go on.
Our hashtag content. I do try to devalue your life. That is true. It's been a psyop that I've been running on you for years now.
There's a couple of people in my life I wonder that same thing about. And have made those same jokes of like, this is all a simulation. We're in the AI. I'm just here to like make you think this is real, but it's not. And then there's times where I'll go to bed and my brain will still be running too fast. And I'll really sit there and think like, yeah, what if that's true? Like, what if I actually am the main character?
I'll be honest with you. I think that this is probably some sort of like vain delusion or something. I probably have a disorder that someone could diagnose by saying this out loud, but I definitely have a hard time sometimes of picturing other people's autonomy outside of my own autonomy. So like the fact that like I know that my wife has a job and goes and like does it and interacts with people, but like thinking about that is hard sometimes for me. Like that someone could be off doing their own thing of their own volition outside of my purview is a strange thought sometimes.
I don't know if I have that same exact extreme version of what you're saying, but there are times where like I'll think about like two of my friends that are dating or married or whatever, when they get home from work, in my head I go, like, what do they do when they get home?
What are they doing?
Like,
exactly.
I get finished with work, I eat dinner, I watch some TV, I talk to you some nights, stuff like that. And I just think about it and I'm like, what is home life actually like for people that aren't me? I just don't know.
It's wild to think about. Yeah.
I'm definitely spiraling at bedtime tonight. This is fantastic.
You're welcome. The psyop continues. Speaking of psyop, let's jump into Toei's latest psyop, which is Kamen Rider Gavv episode 38. This show, Toei, is also a little bit of psychological horror, psychological terror built in. Because if you remember last time, we found out that Kenji, I believe his name was, the sweets shop artisan, turned out to be the Granute that kidnapped Hanto's mom and ultimately led to her death. And this episode,
he has not forgotten that, Josh. Let's start with the main thing here. He has not forgotten that slight.
No, he certainly has not. It is front and center in his mind, and it is the focal point here of this episode. And really, like, wrestling with like what to do with this Kenji guy is the focal point of this episode, and it gives the whole episode like a tension about it, because like especially this first scene, because like we open on the Happy Pare office suite or whatever, that the home, whatever you want to call it, and like tensions are high here. And Hanto kind of is talking about like, hey, I've learned a lot about like how, I've changed my opinion on Granutes because of Shouma and because of Rakia. And I know that like people can change, but like this dude still did this horrible thing to me, and he still has to pay for it. And
I'll even give it credit. That actually is like a wild duality in life.
yeah,
Like we've said plenty of times over the year, all these episodes, where a lot of the human parts of this show, like the actual humanity, hey, this is two 18-year-olds talking or whatever age, we're gonna tag them all or whatever. Like when we used to joke in the beginning about Shouma and Hanto's possible friendship back when that was almost a thing of like, yeah, like Hanto is having a meltdown because he knows Shouma's a Gnu, and they might not be talking about it properly, but when they do talk about it, it's a very real conversation of like, these are my feelings, these are the things I feel like are happening to me that I don't like, and like, yes, you're vaguely my friend, but you still, like, you/your kind lied to me or stabbed me in the back with this, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of this one with all of the main boys, basically, they all kind of intertwined into Hanto's story of like, hey, we're good, but we're good but bad. Like, what really happened here? And I just think like for a kids/young adult show, they just do a really good job with those conversations all the time.
yeah, I think so too. And I think there's a few in this episode that happen that like hit pretty hard. We talked to Rakia later, and this is kind of the same vein of like they really cover that kind of duality of like I understand that there's sort of a correct answer, and I also understand that it's not the way I'm going here. Like I'm going down this other path, and I know that it's different from the one you want me to be on, but like that's how it's gonna be. And that's very human, like you're saying. Like in this same vein, like let's imagine someone did kill a family member of yours. Like you might have an opinion that like the death penalty is bad, which is an easy opinion to have until probably it's like literally someone who you love that got killed, right? And then that's probably much harder to say, like, to have a leniency on the killer or something.
Yeah, like
same here, yeah.
So when Shouma and Laganine, Rakia, whatever, when they're having their own private conversation, when Hanto's like, I'm gonna go out and think about if I'm murdering this dude or not. Like they kind of have their own little private conversation, and towards the end of it, they're sitting down together, and Shouma looks at Laganine, and he's like, can I ask you, like, basically, can I ask you something quick? And Rakia's like, sure. And Shoma's like, does it hurt that much? And Rakia looks at him, and he's like, and Shouma says, when you're pushing it down like this, or trying to convince yourself of what you're telling me.
Yeah.
And like, it's a wild, both, it still gives Shouma the wacky, I'm an alien thing, but it's also like how I feel like someone didn't understand would try to understand it. Like he obviously sees Rakia's suffering through his decisions of, I would be blunt about that too, to try to like tough guy it, or obviously he has his own trauma with someone killing his family, and Shouma having that weird out of body experience, I guess, or like outsider view on, I see your suffering. I see how much pain this actually is to go through. That seems weird to me, but like, is this really what it's like? Like it hurts this much to try to figure out what the right thing to do is sometimes, kind of deal. And it just seemed like extra human and extra real versus just some silly kid show again.
Yep. 100% agree. I think it was after that moment too, where like, I think Rakia stands up and he's like, let's just go check on Hanto. It's just sort of like, all right, you got me. Like, I thought it was neat too in that scene, just to tie sort of this like this feeling over these two scenes together. Like, that one's really interesting because it's Rakia and it's Hanto, two characters who've been at odds with each other like very recently, sort of like finding this like common ground on this of just like, I know you think he's wrong, but like I would do the same thing that he's doing. And I love when they can draw lines to characters like that in different ways, and that's a neat connection that the two of them have in that moment that like Hanto doesn't even know is happening because Shouma's off having this side conversation, and I love that Hanto is like also wrestling with these same feelings. I think it also really I think this episode like really shows Shouma's like leadership of this group and like his leadership style, I guess, because like he you know, he goes and like he consults with what's his name? I lost his name. Loganine. He goes and consults with him, to like figure out sort of like the right thing to do and how to feel about it. And then he follows Hanto around in this. Like he gives Hanto the leash, I guess, to like potentially kill this guy. But like everyone knows he wouldn't let him do it, right? Like if Hanto decided I'm gonna murder this guy right here in the streets, I'm pretty sure Shouma would stop it. I think. But I like that he lets Hanto get to that point himself. I think that that's very cool.
It's a mix of like that, and I also, especially with Shouma asking like Rakia, like, "Hey, is this actually that's this stressful?" Blah blah. I kind of feel like he might let Hanto kill the guy if he really wanted to,
Oh yeah.
just because. Like, I know it's wrong. I also think that because Shouma is not a human kind of deal, I think he also doesn't necessarily know what to do with that situation. Because he basically, like, his assumption seemed to be the whole time, like, no, my buddy will do the right thing. I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if Shouma was in the scene when Hanto's ready to kill the Granute Candy Maker guy, I feel like he would try to talk him out of it, but still watch it kind of deal. Like, I don't know. I feel like Shouma's such a weird toss-up of a character where like the alien part mixes with the human part in a weird way.
Well, I think Shouma does kind of try to talk about it because when they first confront Kenji, not confront him, they already kind of, he already knew. But when they first meet with him and he begs, basically, he begs to be able to stay alive long enough to finish the new sweets for the shop. And finally, like, Hanto agrees to let him live long enough for that. He runs off, and Shouma says like something along the lines of like, I don't know, he seems pretty sorry. Like he starts to like plant those seeds. I think that's maybe when Hanto like gets mad and was like, of course I know he's sorry. Like Hanto's mad because he's hearing what he doesn't want to hear. But like, yeah, I think Shouma's like he's trying to prod him in the right direction. I think at that point maybe.
Yeah, like. He knows he wouldn't do it personally. And he's like, no, friend, like, you could calm down. Like, look how sad he is. He did help us. He was doing all these nice things since then. He's obviously not a bad person now. Maybe give him a little bit of slack, but we'll see.
This show is brutal to Hanto, too. I was thinking about when I was watching this episode because, obviously, like, we have the whole, killed his mom thing. And not only did his mom die, you had to find out that his mom died and it was like super tied to his new best friend / his new best friend was like kind of responsible, which is like a big hurt for Hanto. And then Hanto has this father figure who also gets killed throughout the show. And now Hanto's trying to be a good person and do the right thing, but just wants revenge for his mom. But like, there's so many things I feel like we just throw Hanto through the ringer in this show.
Yeah, I mean, like,
here's
overall,
one more trial for him.
Yeah, like Hanto deals with way more than Shouma does.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
in the, I mean, I guess the overarching plot of like Shouma's family is trying to kill him the whole show. I guess we can call that like a big thing, but it's also just like one touch point. Like Shouma doesn't really have other issues anymore, other than his family shows up here and there.
Yeah,
where Hanto's whole like existence around Shouma has been like vaguely nightmare after nightmare for so many reasons.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it feels like Shouma sort of like landed and like has kind of mostly like found his footing. He's weirdly found this community and stuff that like has become this newfound family. And Hanto has started orbiting Shouma, and just as he's doing it, it's just like smacking into things. It goes like, I would say that even like Rakia a little bit is doing okay with his traumas for the most part. Like he's kind of like surviving better than Hanto is because they just keep hammering Hanto.
Because like, I mean, like
new things.
Most of Rakia's at this point is basically just he goes to visit Uncle Dente, Uncle Dente, and Uncle Dente just goes like, "Nope, not done yet. Sorry, kid." And Rakia just kind of sighs and goes, "Fine, okay," and just like. That seems to be like the most of his extent of his repercussion torture kind of deal, other than him thinking about the Hanto stuff this episode.
Yeah. I did like the scene with Rakia and Uncle Dente this episode, because he's getting his driver fixed, and they at one point Dente's like, like, oh, hey, I appreciate you being civil to me or something like that, like even if you still hate me, and Rakia's like, yeah, we've both done things that we regret. Like it was only like, yeah, all right, whatever. Like just hot off the Shouma conversation was like, yeah, okay, all right, or maybe it was like right before. But it's like he's definitely been changed by Shouma for sure. I didn't expect Kenji to be a like beggar and groveler about this. He seemed so stoic about it last episode, and now he's like begging on the ground. I thought that was interesting.
I think once the gun, metaphorical and then physical later, once the gun was pointed at him, he was like, oh shit, it's real now. And then was like, no, I really don't want to die though.
Yeah. I also really like that Hanto ultimately, his decision to not kill Kenji ultimately came down to like, I don't want a young boy to lose a father figure. And that's perfect, like, perfect reasoning for Hanto. Like that makes sense with his character.
He didn't want the cycle to continue.
Exactly.
Like anyone, like anyone breaking out of their trauma. He realized what it was and was like, it was perpetuated onto me, but I don't want to perpetuate it onto someone else.
Yep.
I'm going to let it go. And then that, of course, led to the worst ending of any of these episodes. It was basically Poppy's Christmas all over again.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell us what happened.
Well, I guess we'll call it out of nowhere. But the whole stomach arc this time was basically a mix of the business sucks, we're doing a horrible job, we can't have any more crappy employees, and Glada being given a list of like, these are the 6 worst employees, and of course it's all in Japanese, so I couldn't read it if there was hints there. But apparently, at the end, after Hanto was like, no, sir, you can live, you have a kid to raise. Apparently he was obviously one of the worst earners since he was hiding in his candy shop and no longer killing people.
Yeah, so then hadn't been doing his job for years, basically.
Yeah, hadn't been doing his job for years. So, of course, was on like the leaderboards for least murder conversions. So Glada was like, I'm going to make an example out of somebody. I'm going to find someone easy. And, of course, she murders him cold in the street as the closing of the episode. And especially, it was one of those good drama for TV moments kind of things of like,
it was, yeah.
Like, God damn it. Like, they left him alone. He made it out. And then, of course, he just gets shot anyway. Like,
yeah, it was a painful moment. It was, this will be a weird reference, but in the show Community, in the first episode, there's a speech that the character Jeff gives where he talks about like humans finding meaning in things. And he was like, I can pick up this pencil, I can tell you its name is Steve, and then a little part of you breaks inside when I snap it in half. Like, and that reminded me of that. Of just like, you built me up this whole episode about this is a huge decision, and this character is like meaningful for this boy's life, and then you kill him at the end of the episode, just unceremoniously kill this guy. And the characters in Community, when he breaks the pencil, they all go like, oh, like they die inside. And I think I made that exact noise when Kenji dies at the end of this episode. I was like, oh. Because yeah, he's the low performer. We had to make an example of someone, and he takes it. So Hanto's gonna have to step in and be a surrogate dad, I think, is what that means.
I'm sure that's gonna be like, I'm gonna assume that has to be part of the wrap up next week of like at least that arc of the story. I also have a vague concern, quote unquote, that since no one was around, like, I don't think anyone saw Kenji after Hanto was like, no, he's fine. And I feel like they're going to be like, wait, Hanto really did kill him? And then I'll start another 2-episode arc of like, no, like, no one has seen him since you were pissed, and now he's missing, and you were the last person to see him, and you hated him, and you were debating murdering him. And the delicious animal candies came out. So like, you probably did this, dude. And then we'll go from there.
I hadn't even thought of that angle. But yeah, I could see that for sure. We also, this episode, there was a whole B plot that we should touch on, where Jeep gets surgically modified to have a Gavv, a black Gavv, and Jeep ends up becoming
French
Kamen Rider.
fries.
What's that? Kamen Rider fries.
I don't know. Like, I feel like they're supposed to be like little crispy potato chippy stick things.
Yes,
I don't know what
they're
they are.
French fried potato chips. Yeah.
Okay, so is that just French fries though? Because like he looked like French fry
No.
rider to me, and I thought that
Yeah.
was awesome.
So there are different brands of them, but there are potato. They are potato chips, but they are in long strips to make them look like French fries. French fry potato
And at least
chip.
in America, they're called like Andy Caps or something like that.
Yeah,
Some
Andes,
like
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. That's why I thought it was. I was hard to tell, but that form looks so sick compared to all of them. Like I think that's actually my favorite Kamen Rider form this season, just because of how it looks sharp and evil, and the mask looks like the Dead Space guy's mask, the video game Dead Space guy.
I hadn't really looked at it in the Dead Space context, but I see it. Yeah, I definitely see it. Yeah, it's a cool looking suit. It's baki sticks is what the candy's called, I guess in Japanese. But yeah, it's very sick looking. I love that. I love this bitter Gavv outfit keeps getting like it gets both passed around and modified each time. I like that we're getting a lot of use out of it.
I think the black Gavv as a toy / item to use looks way sicker than the red one.
It looks good. Yeah, the black looks awesome with like the silver teeth and stuff, and the purple. As far as like the rest of it goes, it's a very cool color scheme, especially with the red tongue still sticking out.
Yep.
I really like the pushing of Jeep down this hill that they did this whole episode too. Like obviously this person in this kind of crisis about losing his sister and then losing his brother now that he sort of like was responsible for. I like that he's resistant about the surgery at first, and both his new wife and his brother are like, it'll be fine, let us do it. And yeah, then he ultimately just lets himself be completely modified, even though he's horrified by it.
It was either right before he got modified or right after, when he was given his marching orders from Pidgey of like, no, you'll beat him now, just do it. His Jeep's wife made this face it was just a hard cut to her face of her like giving him a look. And I was trying to figure out if the look was like she doesn't actually want Gavv to die, or if it was, I know you're going to die if you do this, don't be stupid. But in my head canon, it was a face of a setup of like, yeah, like I don't want Gavv to die. I don't know how I feel about you getting this quote unquote new power, which of course like so the end of the episode was, I'm pretty sure he died. Is that the way you took?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, like, let me buzz through the episode again here to see if I can figure it out.
But yeah, like, so it seemed like he died, even though he was supposed to be all powerful. This is your chance to beat Shouma, blah blah blah. And I just kind of feel like his wife wanted that to happen, or just didn't want Gavv himself to die for some, well, assume will be a plot reason that we'll find down the road here.
It looks like Jeep actually like comes out of the explosion and skips away. Not
Okay.
skips away, but limps away, I should say.
Isn't that one of those double kills where he almost died one week, he'll die the next one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I couldn't exactly remember what the outcome of the big explosion was. But that, yeah, it looks like we will see more of Jeep. But yeah, I don't know. I think Lacelle is still hard to read when it comes to Jeep, because like Jeep's clearly like a plaything to her, but I can also see her being upset about losing her toys, right? I really liked Pidgey after the surgery. Jeep like pops up and was like, oh, so I'm gonna be able to beat him, right? I'm gonna beat the red Gavv, like I'm gonna do it. And I think Pidgey said something along the lines of like, the surgery was a success. The rest is up to you. And that was such an awesome response. just like the biggest fuck you to his brother. It's like it's gonna be on you, but I'm gonna be watching.
I mean, once again, get some data for science and see how this actually goes.
But yeah, for an episode that like really was a lot of like mulling over a single decision, there was like so much tension. I think this was maybe one of my favorite episodes of the series so far because I just really love all of the like very real human tension and kind of rawness that's going on throughout it. I liked it a lot.
It was definitely a solid one. A lot of the episodes at this point, a lot of it doesn't stick with me. To be honest with you, but like this is definitely, at least in the past month or two here, this one stands out as like a super fantastic actual human drama of a TV show episode compared to like the past couple weeks here, or the past like maybe month or two kind of thing.
Did you see Gavv Master Mode's dirty orange butt in this episode? Because that's also worth pointing out. At one point, he's like up on this big giant pedestal. They do a big cool camera panorama around him, and clearly he's sat on the rusty metal, and his butt is just super dirty, and it looks like he pooped himself, and that was all I could think about when I was watching that part.
Kamen Rider poop.
Yeah. Kamen Rider, I dookied. All right, well, let's jump over to some emails. We've got some more talking about the show here that we can do. So if you would like to send us in an email, our email address is cast@kamenwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@kamenwritersucks.com. And our friend Shade has sent in our first email this week. Shade says, "Vengeance no more. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Gavv. You can tell this episode was an emotional one by how I didn't make a joke in the title." This is definitely one of my favorite episodes in the series so far, so Shade and I agree. The plot point has been Hanto's motivation since the very beginning, and the way he tackled his vengeance was just perfect. So perfect, in fact, that I genuinely don't know where Hanto's character is going to go from here. They've gone full circle with him, and there's still a dozen or so episodes to go. Maybe it's someone else's turn to be miserable now. Shade says, anyways, my next email is going to be very long, so I'll get to it already. First off, we have our first look at the summer movie exclusive Kamen Rider. It's going to be Kamen Rider Caries? Caries. Played by one of the Fantastics, which we talked about. Shade says, this guy looks pretty interesting because he's the first rider in Gavv that's not themed after any candies or snacks. From what I've heard, he seems to be a tooth, which makes sense, I guess. If all the rest of the riders are candy themed and snack themed, then you can be a tooth and slowly die of decay, I guess.
That's a good drama point, or a good drama plot, I guess we'll call it.
Then Shade links us some behind the scenes photos from the producer's blog. Tells us that according to the blog, the riverside scene with Valen and Kenji was filmed during winter, around January, I'm guessing. So the staff and suit actor had to walk around in the cold water a bunch. And there's a picture of them in like tall waders so that they can be in the water, I guess, longer. But that sounds unpleasant.
Anything with the suits and the elements, I guess we'll call them, always seems like a bad time. Whenever they splash around in them or just stand in creaky, rivery water, it's not like it's going to be warm. It's definitely going to be ice cold and moving. So,
yeah, and they love doing that too. They love getting wet. Shade goes on from the producer's blog to tell us that in this episode, Jeep transforms into Bitter Gavv Baki Baki stick form. It's based on crunchy potato sticks. Yeah. Jeep's actor is a huge fan of Kamen Rider. He bought every single Gavv merch since the show started, and he's very excited to be able to transform into a Kamen Rider, which is pretty funny considering how much the character hated it. Also, fun toy fact, the Baki Baki stick Gochizo came with the original Bitter Gavv belt, so we've known about this form for literal months now. For the past couple months, people were constantly asking when this form is going to show up. That's interesting. In this episode, Shouma jumped onto a ridiculously high place to show the audience how fucking cool he is. Although they
show him
didn't
his stinky dirt butt.
Yeah, show him how soiled his pants are. Although they don't mention it in the blog, I think this could be a reference to Showa era Kamen Rider. Back then, after the Kamen Rider transformed, they always jumped onto ridiculous places to do their sick introductions, then jump off to actually fight. That's hilarious. I feel like that's like very akin to like vintage Sentai too. Like I feel like the Power Rangers were always like jumping on top of things a lot for no reason.
I feel like they didn't always show it them jumping on to things. I feel like in my brain, with you mentioning that, I feel like I remember them doing front flips off of things all the time to land into like putty fights.
that shot where they I guess it's a multi shot here. They jump at camera and go over the camera. Then the camera cuts to underneath them while they fly over top. And then the camera cuts to they jump into the putty fight. They would do that like 4 or 5 times an episode. That's a classic trick there. Shade linked us a picture of how they got him up onto that thing, and they did it via crane. They lifted him up via crane, which is awesome. Shade also sent us in another email, but we will read that in just a second. But first, I wanted to read an email from Jordan. Jordan has emailed us before about Kamen Rider O's and some of the stuff from the Kamen Rider O's novels. So, Jordan is sending in his kind of like wrap up O's email as well. I know you put a moratorium.
I will not respond. I will just listen to the words.
But we're not arguing here. We're just giving a little bit of more detail. Jordan says, just like that, you guys have officially finished O's. Congratulations. With this final email for the series, let's go over a few things. You've talked about how in the beginning, the story didn't really advance that much. Kamen Rider O's, along with W and Forze, are the 3 seasons of what is known as Heisei Phase 2 or Neo Heisei. They're mostly episodic, with overarching stories intended to keep you hooked. I talked about this a while ago, but O's is split into 3 distinct story arcs. You might remember our story arcs we talked about. So 0 to 16 was the Revival of Greed, the Birth of O's, and the Scramble of Metals. 17 to 38 was the Man of 100 Million, the Other Ankh, and the Purple Metals. And then pretty much exactly where we kind of predicted it, around 39 to 48, is the final story arc, the Bond of Allies, the End of the World, and the Greed Towards Tomorrow. So yeah, that's when the story picked up, and it stopped being just sort of Monster of the Week episodic. Next, about the O's novel. Unfortunately, I am not the writer. Apparently you or I accused Jordan of writing the O's novel himself last time. I don't remember that, but apparently we did.
Fantastic.
I just referenced it when telling about the combos to provide more information. In reality, you don't really need to read the novel to enjoy O's. It's mostly there to expand the world and lore of the show.
I want to point out that a novel about O's is my 2 least favorite things in the world. Reading and O's.
Reading, yeah. Well, here's something that might entice you a little bit more. There's also a novel for X-Aid. It's called Mighty Novel X. I'll just give you a brief synopsis. The story follows Dan using the power of the titular Geshat Mighty Novel X, which was released a few years ago. He uses it to infect Emu and control his reality, in the same vein as a visual novel, which is the genre that the Geshat is based off of, to force him to visit different locations that hold significance to his past. The other writers get dragged into it in an attempt to save him. The novel is mainly about expanding what we know about the characters. So I'd be interested in potentially reading an X-Aid novel.
No. Visual novel. Video game.
Visual novel. Fine. That's even better.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, it's not a book. It's like the VN games are on Steam and stuff. That's all I'm clarifying with this conversation.
That's fair. I was thinking the visual novel I was thinking about it being a book with pictures, but that makes way more sense now. that visual novel is a video game term.
Yeah, because I guess like tied to it is just like Dan made the game Mighty Novel X, so it's specifically a game, a visual novel thing. That is all.
Fair enough. I'm looking at pictures of the form you do with the Mighty Novel X, and it's like all black and white. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks like almost like a see-through Game Boy.
Yeah, a little bit. So that's very neat. So yeah, Jordan, thanks very much for the final email there about O's. And then, of course, we have our next email coming in from Shade. Shade wrote us up a big email about Toshiki Inoue, We mentioned him last time. This is the creator of Dawn Brothers, the writer of Dawn Brothers. So, strap in. This is kind of a long one. Shade says, all right, now that you guys are starting Dawn Brothers, you'll probably need to know exactly who this guy is and why he's important. Prepare yourselves, folks. This is going to be a long one. First off, I'm going to have to clarify something for Josh from last episode. Toshiki Inoue wasn't the head writer of Decade, Gokaiger, or Zio. I was wrong, apparently.
How dare
he was
you.
only a guest writer for the tribute episode of the series that he has previously written for. Okay, that makes sense. That said, Toshiki Inoue's position in Toei Tokusatsu is a significant one. He's worked on a lot of shows that have defined an entire era, and shows that are both extremely iconic or hated even to this day. To make a comparison that you guys will understand, Inoue is kind of like the Frank Miller of tokusatsu, but like without the racism. Like Frank Miller, Inoue has an incredibly distinct style of writing that can either make or break whatever he's working on entirely. He's completely obsessed with one particular genre, that being relationship dramas instead of Frank Miller's crime noir. And he's so dark and edgy that he could not figure out how to write Ultraman, or in Frank Miller's case, Superman. So now that you know how important he is, let us look into the impact he has had on tokusatsu in general, and to do that, we have to run it from the start. Toshiki Inoue's involvement with tokusatsu goes all the way back. He was the son of Igami Masaru, who was one of the head writers for the original Kamen Rider. And although his father was kind of a jerk, which someone has covered and links the video, he did inspire Toshiki Inoue to pursue his own career in screenwriting. After getting noticed by Toei execs, Inoue worked on a bunch of Toei shows as a subwriter during the 80s. Notably, he worked on some episodes of the original Dragon Ball series and several Sentai series. That's cool. He continued as a subwriter until the year 1991, when he finally got his chance to be the head writer of the next Super Sentai series, Chojin Sentai Jetman. Technically, he got to be a head writer of an anime, before this, but it was a manga adaptation, so really Jetman's his first really original work as a head writer. To paint you guys a picture of the state of Super Sentai back then, the franchise was getting a bit stale, the shows were getting repetitive to the point where if you've seen a few, you've seen them all, kind of like the current day Power Rangers actually, but not as washed. That's why Inoue's Jetman did so well. It was something new and out of the norm. The show heavily focused on the characters and their relationships, to the point where the Super Sentai shenanigans sometimes feel secondary to the drama, all while being low-key pretty funny at the time. Jetman had a big part in revitalizing the public's interest in Super Sentai, to the point where there were rumors that it saved Sentai from cancellation. From then on, Inoue slowly got more and more work. In the 90s, he got to write for a standalone toku show called Changerion, and even worked on Season 0 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. But his career really exploded during the early 2000s, which is also when he started working on Kamen Rider. When you're talking about early Heisei Kamen Rider, you can't not mention Inoue because he put in some work in the era. Toshiki Inoue is the head writer of Kamen Rider Agito, Phase, Kiva, the second half of Hibiki, the Kuga manga co-writer of Ryuki, Kabuto, and a couple or so episodes from the rest of the shows in the era. Like Jetman, he brought his own style into Kamen Rider and continued the trend of slower-paced J-drama-like shows set up by Kuga. After the early 2000s, Inoue took a bit of a backseat in terms of tokusatsu. He only returned to write some tribute episodes in Gokaiger and Zio. It's not until 2022 that Inoue returned to Super Sentai with Dawn Brothers. And funnily enough, like Jetman, Dawn Brothers was also extremely well received and revitalized a lot of people's love for Sentai, to the point where people were claiming that Inoue saved Sentai twice. Seriously, this man was busy during the 2000s, and then Shade links the image of all the things that he touched, basically, in that era. So yeah, from all the above, you guys may think, hey, this Toshiki Inoue guy is pretty cool and a hardworking person. And yeah, that's one of his greatest strengths. However, his biggest strength and weakness is probably the fact that he's fucking insane. Inoue is one of those kinds of writers that is all gas and no brakes. If you watch his Kamen Rider shows and compare them to the supplementary content, the ones that didn't air on TV, you'll realize that the only reason why he's not writing the most out-of-pocket thing you've ever seen is because the producer told him to stop. To put it into perspective of how messed up he is, in Ryuki's reunion special, he wrote that a gay sex murder scene, the one we've talked about before.
Yeah.
He also wrote a monster sex scene in Defies' 20th anniversary film, as in the suit actors made out in suits with each other. And in Kamen Rider Geo versus Decade, he just added borderline cannibalism on top of the already nonsensical plot, and that's not even mentioning all the novels he did, or the fact that he's the guy who wrote the infamous potato chip scene from the Death Note anime. Another thing that he does that people hate, he really loves the love triangle trope. He uses that trope in his shows almost every time. Notoriously, when he took over Kamen Rider Hibiki's second half, the first half was a really chill slice of life show, he made it into another one of his relationship dramas. From then on, the show's just a bunch of manufactured conflict after another, and Hibiki fans still haven't forgiven him to this day. Despite all the problems in his writing, I still think that Toshiki Inoue is a pretty dang good writer. I was one of the lucky kids that got to watch one of his series, Fies, as an actual child. I was 8 years old at the time. And while the series did traumatize me, it also taught me a lot about the problems that no one would ever teach me. As an 8-year-old, Fies taught me about depression, suicide, broken dreams, purpose, etc., topics that never in a million years would any adult teach me, and they're lessons that stayed with me to this day. He's the best there is at what he does, and not much else, I guess. He's incredibly flawed as a writer. I haven't even touched on his other flaws, like how he sucks at world building, creating lore, or writing a healthy relationship. But when Inoue locks in and does his thing, he is just that good. He's capable of creating stories and characters that are so emotionally mature and gut-wrenching that you'll have to quietly sit, process, and ponder upon yourself once you're done watching. That, and you'll laugh your ass off because his insanity also translates into comedy, whether unintentionally or not. I think that's all there is to cover about this man. He's a really interesting person for sure. There might be some small details regarding his history that I was either incorrect about or just didn't cover, but I'm certain that they're generally right. So yeah, do tell me what your guys' impression of Toshiki Inoue is after knowing more about him. He's an important pillar in shaping Kamen Rider and Sentai into what it is today, and I am interested in what newer fans think of him. Your thoughts on Inoue and his shows can really indicate what kind of fan you are, and that's always fascinating for me to read. All in all, I hope you guys had fun and learned about this huge piece of tokusatsu lore. Be sure to enjoy the festival of chaos that is Avataro, Sentai, Dawn Brothers, and don't forget to wahaha your way through it. I'm not gonna do that upright.
Do we hear wahaha yet?
We got one in the first episode, I think. Yeah,
We'll have to
if
watch
I remember
more.
correctly. Yeah. So that's cool. I'm very, very interested. I'm excited to see what you and I end up thinking about Dawn Brothers. Yeah, because we'll see where we fall in the general consensus, I guess, of the fandom.
At least, I mean, from one episode, it seems like Gozuger. I guess because they're kind of close together overall. So
Yeah.
that's really the best review I have as of now. I'll see how I feel. I'll see how I feel after we get a couple episodes under our drivers here, and we can go from there.
Ooh, I like you said drivers. That's cool.
I was gonna say belt, and I wanted to be a cool toku nerd guy.
You won me over. That's all it took. All right. So thanks very much for the email, guys. Again, if you guys are out there and you'd like to send us in an email, it doesn't have to be this in-depth. You can write in about anything you want. Ask us whatever question you want. You can send those over to cast@kamenridersucks.com. If you join the Patreon, you can also ask questions over there. We have an episode questions channel where you can post your questions. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for us for this week, actually. Again, just a reminder, you can join the Patreon. Patreon.com/thecommentwriters is where you get to that. We'd love to have you around the Discord. We'd love to have you checking out that bonus content. And at the very least, we'd love to have you join us back here for next week. We're going to be talking about Kamen Rider Gavv episode 39. And yeah, we hope you watch and enjoy that. And then we hope you come back here. And we hope you have a great week in the meantime. Peace.